We are starting with Smackdown as AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Randy Orton kicked off with a segment that saw each state why they should be the next to face undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Styles calling Knight out for stepping over him and taking advantage of the Phenomenal One's injuries to get a title opportunity is a nice bit of logic, as Knight benefited greatly from AJ's absence. Logic has not always been a part of WWE's creative process, and this serves as a testament to Triple H's attention to detail, and we like Styles' all-black 2012 TNA attire and vibes on the show. Nick Aldis interrupted and announced a triple threat for the New Year's Revolution episode, with the winner earning a title shot for the Royal Rumble. The crowd was behind Knight, a testament to the connection he has forged with the fans, and this was a great way to bring three top contenders together to bring stakes to the January 5th show. SmackDown also saw Roman Reigns demand that Nick Aldis be sent to his room for a word, and when that happened, Aldis took a dig at the Tribal Chief. After Paul Heyman fetched the SmackDown GM, Reigns interrogated Aldis about the triple threat, and he also questioned booking AJ Styles vs Solo Sikoa for later that night. Unlike Adam Pearce, Aldis said that he's the sharp end of the stick and not middle management, and questioned why Reigns was so bothered by Sikoa's match with Styles. Aldis went even further, saying Solo took care of Cena in a way that even the Tribal Chief couldn't, and with Reigns, though clearly infuriated, having nothing else to say, Aldis walked away. Nick Aldis in general has been fantastic as the authority figure of the Blue brand, and made it clear to the Tribal Chief that he won't be pushed around. More from AJ Styles now, as though he didn't share the screen with the OC upon his return last week, the club had a brief reunion this week, though things didn't go well. In a backstage segment, Michin Mia Yim greeted Styles with a hug, and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows weren't far behind, but Styles made it clear he wasn't in the mood for fun. In fact, Styles made it clear he isn't interested in associating with the OC anymore, and took Yim's hands off of him, seemingly reverting to the lone wolf character he used in his final days in TNA. That run is one of the most acclaimed runs of Styles' lengthy career, and we'll have to see how this character change continues to affect AJ on his hunt for a match with Roman Reigns. It was last week that Styles teased this new side of himself by clocking LA Knight, but this new demeanor and wardrobe was nowhere to be seen during SmackDown's main event. Instead, the match saw Solo Sikoa overwhelm Styles for the majority of the contest, and while Styles fought his way back, it was in the manner that we've seen him for years as a clear babyface. Roman Reigns attacked, cutting off his comeback, and leading to the arrival of Randy Orton, and when Jimmy Uso joined the fray and the Bloodline got the best of the faces, LA Knight made the save. A brawl between the three top contenders wrapped up this week's show, with AJ's new attitude being a welcome change, and could be what makes him a contender to face Roman Reigns. Before that though, he has LA Knight and Randy Orton in his way, and do you think AJ deserves an undisputed WWE Universal title match? Share your thoughts in the comments. In 2005, WWE introduced its New Year's Revolution pay-per-view, which ran for 3 years, with the final show taking place in 2007. For the following year, WWE skipped the early January pay-per-view and instead waited until the 2008 Royal Rumble, but now New Year's Revolution is set to make something of a return. On last night's SmackDown, it was announced that the January 5th edition of the Blue brand will be a New Year's Revolution special, even though the show was previously a Raw exclusive event. This isn't the only TV show to receive special promoting, as the first Raw of 2024 is being promoted as the Day 1 show, a nod to the 2022 PLE that took place on January 1st. WWE wants to give their first TV shows of the year a big feel, and are doing so with these names, and we'll have to see what's added to the New Year's Revolution SmackDown. Unless you've been living under a rock on Mars for the past month, you'll know that CM Punk is back in WWE, and the promotion is more than happy to promote the former AEW World Champion. Punk has appeared on several shows, and is set to make his in-ring return next week, and now WWE are going even further with their advertising of the straight-edge superstar. WWE Raw recently changed its banner, which now features Punk, and he has replaced main event Jey Uso among some of the top names on Raw. Punk is joined by Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, and Gunther on the banner, with the Austrian taking Jay's spot while Punk's filling in for where Gunther once stood. SmackDown's banner has also been changed, with Randy Orton replacing the injured Charlotte Flair, and we'll have to see what comes next for Punk after this major change. Over to Smackdown, as Dragon Lee yet again defended the NXT North American title he won from Dominic Mysterio at Deadline, this time against Butch. During the match, Butch tried to lock in an armbar, but Lee reversed it into a cover, and Butch continued to target the champ's arm, including landing his knees on it and trying to snap his fingers. Lee mounted the comeback and showed toughness by popping his finger back in place before managing to get the win over the Bruiserweight. Frustration continues to mount and should result in more character development for the Brit, while Lee continues to get over merely by being excellent in simple booking that benefits both men. Butch is gradually taking on the mannerisms, facial expressions, and body language of Pete Dunne, perhaps signaling a return to form for the former NXT UK champion, something fans have been itching to see. In the first of two US title tournament semifinals matches, Kevin Owens faced NXT's Carmelo Hayes, and the hard-fought match ended with Owens earning the pinfall win. There will be fans who argue that Hayes should have won, but he was not harmed in the slightest by his loss, and instead proved he can hang with the former Universal Champion. Owens and US Champion Logan Paul teased a feud a few weeks back, so the idea that the prizefighter won to advance to the finals is the right call, though not a particularly surprising one. MJF is the longest reigning AEW World Champion and considered one of the best wrestlers working today, and he's certainly proving his resolve when he's in the ring. The Salt of the Earth has been working through a torn labrum that he suffered in recent weeks, and will work next week's World's End in what many are seeing as the sign of a locker room leader. MJF is certainly setting an example to all in AEW, but when speaking to the SI Media podcast, MJF rejected the honor of locker room leader and explained why, saying, "Do I consider myself a locker room leader? No. When I think of locker room leaders, I think of people who are unabashedly willing to stand in front of the entire locker room and with verbose say, here's what we need to do. When I think of that, I think of guys like Danielson, like Moxley, Eddie Kingston, like Dax Harwood, Chris Jericho. These are the guys who are not afraid to stand in front of everybody and say, hey, this is the way it's meant to be done. And when I say that, I mean that in a positive light. I don't feel it's my place to do that. But I am more, and I do give advice when I'm asked for it, and I'm frankly asked for it a lot, but I'm not afraid to give advice because I know I've earned the right to do so. But no, I wouldn't consider myself a locker room leader." With his torn labrum and the devil watching his every move, MJF's days as the champion may be numbered. And while MJF has done plenty, he's not a locker room leader just yet. But who in AEW do you think is fitting of the title of locker room leader, if not the reigning world champion? Sound off down in the comments. More from Smackdown now, as Karrion Kross had another promo video on this week's show, and while this featured plenty of cryptic ideas like before, there was a clear tease during the segment. In the video, Kross's past feuds with Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, Shinsuke Nakamura, and AJ Styles were shown, and Kross spoke about how a scribe needs authors. There was a silhouette during the segment showing three men, and while their faces weren't shown, these were clearly the Authors of Pain, alongside their manager Paul Ellering. The video was very well shot and instantly caused a buzz online about the potential return of AOP, who have reportedly been under contract for many months now. When fans last saw AOP in WWE, they were the heavies for Seth Rollins during his Messiah character. And what do you make of their introduction on this week's SmackDown? Sound off in the comments. As we're all aware, Kenny Omega is suffering from diverticulitis and is on his road to recovery, but his situation could have been far, far worse than what we're seeing right now. On his ROH Final Battle media scrum, Tony Khan revealed that Omega's illness was more severe than initially believed, and that he didn't believe anyone fully grasped just how bad things were. In an update from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was stated that Omega was in clear pain after his promo on the December 13th Dynamite and was taken to the hospital after the segment. While being diagnosed, Omega was told he was very lucky, as the situation could have been catastrophic if he'd suffered a blood infection, which thankfully didn't happen. Had Omega suffered an infection, there would have been a 50% chance of death, and it's fortunate that AEW and Omega sought medical help as quickly as they did. This situation was so serious that Don Callis even broke character on social media and shared a touching tribute video to Omega, despite their fierce on-screen rivalry. Omega was set to compete at World's End, but that no longer appears to be the plan, and we're wishing the absolute best to the Cleaner on his road to recovery. On SmackDown, Damage Control faced Bianca Belair, Mia Yim, Zelina Vega, and Shotzi in a Holiday Havoc match, which kicked off with an all-out brawl among the 8 women. Belair and Sky would end up starting for their teams, and Damage Control seemed to have the upper hand until the Kabuki Warriors opened a gift placed at ringside. The heels didn't receive a lump of coal, but rather it was Alba Fire and Isla Dawn who emerged from the box, ambushing Asuka and Kairi Sane in the process. Despite Bayley and Sky's attempts to rally with their impactful moves, they struggled, ultimately resulting in their defeat in the match to the Faces. Fire and Dawn were last seen in action 6 months ago when they lost to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler in a match to unify the WWE and NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. They have since been used very sporadically, but now it seems they will be involved in a program with the Kabuki Warriors going forward. The unfolding dynamics between these teams in the weeks ahead will be one to watch, and are you excited to see the pair back in action on Smackdown? Let us know down below. In our second of 2 US title tournament semifinals matches, Santos Escobar defeated Bobby Lashley in something of an upset thanks to the interference of Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. The former Los Lodarios hopped the guardrail and attacked the Street Profits, providing a distraction that Escobar capitalized on with a schoolboy roll-up for the win. Prior to this, Escobar had primarily been selling before seizing on an opportunity and working over his opponent, but Lashley was working on a comeback before the controversial ending. The match was fine for what it was and built more heat for Escobar, which was the goal from the beginning, though the match itself wasn't as good as you'd expect, thanks in part to the rather busy finish. With Santos Escobar winning this match, we know he'll face Kevin Owens, but US champion Logan Paul isn't sweating either opponent. During the show, Paul said that Escobar was impressive, but added that the former Cruiserweight champion, even with his new allies, is not on his level. Paul had far harsher comments for Kevin Owens, saying the prize fighter would never take his shirt off in a pool, and said he looked like if Reddit were a person. Logan Paul is once again proving to be a fantastic heel even if he's not wrestling, and if his previous matches are any indication, expect an equally fantastic outing next month at the Rumble. So Santos Escobar and Kevin Owens have advanced to the finals of the tournament, which will happen on the January 5th edition of Smackdown. Fans won't have to wait until the show to learn who wins though, as the Wrestling Observer reports that a title match between Paul and Owens is set for next month's Royal Rumble show. It's hardly a surprise that Owens will be the one challenging Paul, as it would have been odd for Santos to go for the gold after turning heel against Paul, who always gets a heel response from the fans. Owens was positioned as a favorite from the very start of the tournament, and he'll get his title match next month. And do you agree with this? Or should WWE have gone with another superstar? Earlier this month, Charlotte Flair faced Asuka on SmackDown, but despite the immense talents of both superstars, Flair seriously hurt her knee in the encounter. During last week's SmackDown, it was announced that Flair will miss 9 months due to the injury, as she was seen clutching her knee and being tended to by medics after the unfortunate moment. In an update, PW Insider reports that Flair is set to get knee surgery in early January, with her return expected to happen around October of next year. That's certainly a blow for Flair, who will miss the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam, and there had been suggestions that Flair would have been Jade Cargill's first WWE opponent. Unless WWE wants to do nothing with Jade during her first year under contract, they'll need to find a new dance partner for Cargill, and we're wishing Charlotte all the best at this time. In late 2022, William Regal was freed from his AEW contract so that he could return to WWE, as the Brit wanted to be closer to his son and current NXT superstar Charlie Dempsey. As part of Regal's release, it was agreed that he could not appear on WWE TV for the first year of his comeback, and has instead served as WWE's Vice President of Global Talent Development at NXT. With his one-year clause close to ending, fans are eager to see what Regal does on TV, but as the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports, there's nothing concrete at this time. They write, "Regal's non-compete as far as appearing on television is just about over. At the time Regal left, he said he wasn't going to be appearing on television. He hasn't worked for NXT, and they have Michaels as an authority figure, who, while not as good at the job as Regal, is a far bigger name. They just hired Aldis for that role on SmackDown, and wouldn't have done so if they planned to put Regal in that spot. I could see a cameo, but as far as a regular TV role, it would have to be as an authority figure or manager." We'll have to see what's next for Regal, who is seemingly happy with his new role in WWE, despite not being on TV. It certainly wouldn't make sense for Regal to replace Nick Aldis, as the latter has shown no reason for being replaced, and perhaps Regal will instead resume his previous role as NXT's GM. Regal spent years as NXT's GM prior to his release in January 2022, and it appears those options could be on the table, as his non-appearance clause will expire in a matter of days. What's your take on William Regal showing up on WWE television once again? Let us know what you think in the comments section. With WrestleMania season soon approaching, speculation has already begun as to who will be inducted into next year's Hall of Fame, with plenty of worthy candidates available. We don't know who WWE has planned for the Hall of Fame, if there are any plans yet, but what we do know is that it'll be Triple H who will be making the call. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that the 2024 class will be the first with Triple H fully in charge instead of Vince McMahon, as part of the major shifts we've seen backstage as of late. With that said, the selection process is expected to be similar, with women, minorities, and characters that the audience know making the cut, as well as those who make sense politically. In terms of politics, the Observer gave the example that Triple H would consider someone who Nick Khan believes should be inducted in an effort to strengthen ties with said wrestler. Triple H is known for his broader appreciation of wrestling beyond WWE, especially when compared to his father-in-law, so it'll be interesting to see who he picks in the coming months. Cody Rhodes news now, as it's been close to 2 years since his return to WWE at WrestleMania 38, and since then, the American Nightmare has been on a serious roll. Not even a torn pectoral and heartbreaking loss at WrestleMania 39 have been able to derail Rhodes' connection with the fans, and WWE wants to keep him around for a long time to come. Fightful Select has learned that WWE is looking to lock Rhodes into a new contract, one that'll last several more years, but there's no confirmation as to how long the extension will be for. It's believed that Rhodes will also receive a sizable pay raise as part of this new deal, which comes after he was gifted a new bus around Thanksgiving last month. This has led some to speculate that he is already re-signed, but the latest word is that a new deal with the American Nightmare has not been finalized. WWE recently extended contracts for Charlotte Flair, Bayley, and both Rey and Dominic Mysterio, and if they have their way, Cody Rhodes will be a superstar for a very, very long time to come.